Love. And this is arguably the worst one, and we're gonna get into it in a second. But this guy
in the results, and Max Verstappen, the highly overrated driver, is now on a 7.
Team managers, you had amazing engineers, they're all leaving, performances dropping. I don't think Max Verstappen, as selfish and as ambitious that we've seen him to be, Max Verstappen will not stand to be a midfield driver. Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull. Red Bull's in trouble, and I'm not gonna lie, it does make me kind of happy. I'm not even going to lie. That team has been too dominant for too long. This one thing I like about Formula One, you don't stay dominant for too long. 3, 4, 5 years, it will come to an end. So let's react to Red Bull and let's see what problems they're facing right now. A lot of people leaving. A lot. And this is arguably the worst one. And we're going to get into it in a second. But this guy, this genius leaving, is probably going to be the thing that hurts Red Bull the most going forward. Another one, Wheatley.
One of the very best Formula.
That's another one. They're gonna lose their engines are gonna. I mean, Aston Martin is gonna get their Honda partnership. It's not looking good.
One of the very best Formula One cars ever built. The dominant Dutchman winning for the 19th time this season.
A -5 brake pace and the thing just doesn't turn. It's unbelievable.
For years, Red Bull Racing seemed untouchable in Formula One, however. The once dominant powerhouse has entered an undeniable freefall, one that is equal parts embarrassing and inevitable. What was once an indomitable force is now a team marred by a mass exodus of talent, an alarming drop in performance, and internal strife that threatens to tear the team apart.
And I feel like the biggest takeaway when you look at Red Bull and what's been going on, and that's why the Adrian Newey's move to Aston Martin was so big, and why Sky Sports were they were like all over it, is because Formula One is really and truly a team sport. Yes, we love to see drivers. We love to glorify drivers, and this driver has won these many championships. But really and truly, Formula One is a team sport, and I'm not talking about just changing the tires and the drivers. I'm talking about the whole thing: who builds the car, who manages the team, who manages these operations, these massive operations. It is a team sport. When you look at Red Bull and you look at all these key players they're losing, it's just as bad as like losing Max Verstappen, for example. You're losing a lot of talent within the team, guys that have been around for such a long time. And even Red Bull, when you look at their 4-year dominance that they had back in the early 2010s, when that 10-year dominance ended and then it was Mercedes' time to dominate, Red Bull was still always in the mix. Red Bull was still fighting for podiums, fighting for wins. Yes, they weren't winning the championships. They weren't winning the World Championship. They weren't winning the Drivers' Championships or the Constructors, for example. But they were in the mix. They were fighting. What I fear for Red Bull is, as they lose all this talent, they might not even be able to compete with the likes of Ferrari, Mercedes, even Aston Martin now coming up. We don't know how good Audi is going to be. There's going to be new regulations in 2026. You losing all this talent, it could have major repercussions in the future. And I don't know what Christian Horner is planning on doing about what he's planning on doing about it, but it's not looking good. Newey's been there for a long time. A lot of these guys, they've been here for ages, and now they're all just quickly moving. And if they're not replaced, we could see Red Bull becoming a midfield team. But let's carry on.
Red Bull's decline is no mere coincidence. It's a natural consequence of hubris, poor leadership, and a toxic internal culture. And the team that once relished in flaunting its dominance is now reaping what it has sown. Red Bull's success over the past decade wasn't necessarily built on just luck, as it was also built on the genius of a select group of technical masterminds, but those days are now over. And in recent years, Red Bull has hemorrhaged key...
And I'm just going to pause here for a second so you guys can see. Formula One is such a unique sport because of how many guys are involved. You look at, for example, the NBA. There's 15 players. Yes, you can count in the physios and all these other guys, but not to be disrespectful, but these guys can be replaced and being someone else, and it won't impact performance too much. How you do a massage is how you do a massage. Here, when you take out an engineer like Newey or a designer like Newey, you can't just go out and replace him. When you take out a team manager like some of the guys that are leaving Red Bull, yes, Christian Horner is the team principal, but there are managers here within the team that manage all the other little operations that happen. When it's begin to take these guys out, I said this before, it's going to have massive repercussions going forward. I hope they're not taking this lightly, because you can't just replace these professionals.
Key personnel, a phenomenon that can only be described as a brain drain of catastrophic proportions. First to jump ship was Dan Fallows, Red Bull's chief aerodynamics engineer. After 16 years of driving the team's aerodynamic advancements, Fallows departed in 2022 to become Aston Martin's technical director. Then came the exit of Rob Marshall, Red Bull's chief engineering officer, after 17 years of service. Marshall's move to McLaren in 2023 as their technical director further exposed the cracks forming within Red Bull. These weren't just engineers, they were the architects of the team's once dominant machinery. And yet, Red Bull did little to stop their exit. The most damning loss, however, is that of Adrian Newey, arguably the most celebrated designer in Formula One history. After 18 years at Red Bull, Newey will leave to join Aston Martin in 2025 as their managing technical partner. Newey's exit is a death knell for Red Bull's future, and losing...
And the problem won't really be the 2025 season. The problem will be the 2026 season. The new regulations, how are you going to design the car to keep up with the other teams? A lot of teams, like for example, Mercedes and even Aston Martin, they know they can't be dominant right now, so they're looking into 2026. Even Audi, they're looking at bringing the right people in right now so they can build the best car for 2026 and look to dominate the next phase. And Red Bull, they're losing all these key players. It's not good.
The man whose designs brought them unparalleled success is a clear indication that the team's inner workings are in disarray. But it doesn't end there. Jonathan Wheatley, Red Bull's sporting director for 18 years, will be leaving in 2025 to become Audi's team principal.
When you look at it, all of these guys, they've been here for at least 15 years. And I told you guys about the dominance they had. They had 4 years of absolute dominance. 2010 to 2013, absolute dominance. But when that ended, they were still competitive. A lot of teams, they'll have a dominant time, and then they'll fall off. Like look at Renault, for example. Renault were dominant in the early to mid 2000s, and then they fell off the face of the earth. Red Bull, they were dominant, and they managed to keep up performance, or trying to keep up performance with Mercedes and Ferrari. Losing these key players might end up putting Red Bull in the middle of the field.
Wheatley was instrumental in Red Bull's race day operations, and his departure is yet another sign of a sinking ship. And it's not hard to connect the dots, which is that these seasoned professionals are abandoning Red Bull to escape an increasingly toxic and dysfunctional environment. On the track, Red Bull's descent has been nothing short of catastrophic. After a blistering start to the 2024 season, where the team carried over their 2023 dominance, their performance has taken a nosedive since the 6th race in Miami. Rumors are rampant that Red Bull had been discreetly banned from using an illegal asymmetric braking system, which they had exploited to gain a significant performance advantage, and instead of addressing these allegations, Red Bull has attempted to mask their sudden lack of competitiveness by suggesting they've merely reached the ceiling of their design philosophy. The reality is glaringly obvious. Without their controversial technical trickery, Red Bull's car is no longer a race-winning machine. Their decline isn't theoretical. It's visible in the results, and Max Verstappen, the highly overrated driver, is now on a 7...
no, for the record, I don't think Max Verstappen is overrated, but that caught me off guard. That was funny, bro. That was funny. I don't think it's overrated, but that was funny.
Race winless streak, and in that period, he has secured only 2 podiums and 2 pole positions. Verstappen's frustration is palpable, and one can't help but wonder how long he will tolerate piloting a car that can no longer compete with the front-runners. The team that once dominated,
And I feel like that brings us to the tip of the iceberg. I feel like Red Bull are already, in a sense, at the tip of the iceberg. But really and truly, this dip in performance, because Red Bull, you had arguably the greatest car designer, you had you had amazing team managers, you had amazing engineers. They're all leaving. Performance is dropping. I don't think Max Verstappen, as selfish and as ambitious that we've seen him to be, Max Verstappen will not stand to be a midfield driver. He won't stand for it. And we've seen Toto Wolff, he's kind of playing the man games, but Toto will do it. George Russell, he needs to watch his back, because Toto will do it. And if the performance is not there, Max will leave. He'll go to Ferrari, he will go to Mercedes, he will go to a team that's performing.
is now being outclassed by McLaren, Ferrari, and even to a certain extent Mercedes. And this is a fall from grace that even their most loyal fans can no longer deny. Beyond their technical failures and personnel losses, Red Bull has become a cesspool of internal controversies and power struggles that are eroding the team's foundation. Christian Horner, long seen as the authoritative leader of Red Bull Racing, has found himself embroiled in allegations of inappropriate behavior towards a female colleague. While Red Bull has attempted to sweep this controversy under the rug and move from it, the optics are disastrous, and it points to an organization that is rife with dysfunction at the highest levels. Moreover, there are increasing reports of a power struggle between Horner and Red Bull's senior advisor, Helmut Marko, and this tension at the top has undoubtedly filtered down, creating a hostile working environment.
Yeah, but we'll stop there. We'll stop there because I've already talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. Red Bull need to watch their backs, because if this continues, 2027, I'm saying 2027 because 2026, I feel like they'll have a massive dip in performance, but 2027 will not be kind to them. And also with the Honda engines deciding to do with Aston Martin. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Once again, I really appreciate you guys sticking around. And as per usual, I'll see you soon.